Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
sorry. That's yeah. I just started the recording. Sorry to interrupt the conversation, but
so we can get.
we're going to be live in about 10 seconds. So I'll just let you know when we're live, Chair.
Thank you.
You're all set.
Thank you very much. Then I will call to order the March 16th meeting of the Grimsby Active Advisory Committee to order. This meeting's being filmed, just a warning to everyone, and it will be up for recording later on. Disclosure, where am I on my agenda? Yeah, any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next item was the acceptance of the appointment of the chair. Where do I go with this, Peter, or whoever wants to coordinate it? I guess it's a requirement under our terms of reference, and I don't know whether anyone put their name in since the last meeting.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty sure I can provide a bit of an update. So at the previous council meeting, well, I guess I'll go further back. At the previous committee meeting, we had asked if there were any interested members that wanted to act as chair, because as you referenced, the terms of reference does stipulate that the appointment is for a 2-year period. So we didn't get any volunteers at that meeting, but we were a little bit light on attendance. So I think the decision at the last committee meeting was we would return at this meeting and see just again if there's anyone that's interested. And I will just say that there's no pressure if there's anyone that's not interested. And sorry to volunteer you, Paul, but if we don't get anyone that's interested, we could always request from council permission to have Paul sit as chair for remainder of the term if we weren't able to have a new chair. So with that, I'll open up to the floor. If there's anyone that's interested in putting their name forward, you can just do that now if you like.
Bruce McKenzie.
Yes. First of all, I am very comfortable with Chair Paul. And I also would like to remind everybody that because of COVID, we had a long period of time where there were no meetings. And I'm not sure if we've had 2 years continuous of meetings, because at the beginning of the council term, we took a long time, I think, to select a chair. And considering that this is now March, near April, I would be quite comfortable if Paul was to stay on as chair until the end of this term, because otherwise a new chair is coming in with less than a year to serve. Not discrediting anybody else in the committee and their desire maybe to be chair. That's just my thoughts on this situation. Thank you, Chair Paul.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments, words of wisdom?
I agree with Bruce, and I will second that.
Thank you.
Yeah, same here. Thoroughly endorse Bruce's thoughts. Yep.
Okay. Does this?
I vote for Paul.
Yes.
Paul, good job. I vote for you, Paul.
I don't know if that's good, but thank you, Ann.
Are you going to run for mayor, Paul?
Yeah. Right. Well, if that's good, if as we move along, somebody feels like jumping in, that's just fine too. No hurt feelings, but to keep us rolling along, do we have to go through any procedure on this one, Peter?
Through you, Chair. So I think that motion that was put forward is reasonable. I'll just word it in a way that we'll be requesting approval from council, and that the request essentially will be just to permit you to continue acting as chair for the remainder of the term. So I believe we have a mover and a seconder for that. So I think if there's no other discussion, we could call that to a vote.
Okay. Now Who moved that? Was that Bruce? I'm supposed to keep this little sheet here to show the resolution. So moved by, who moved that?
Consider my Bruce as the mover of that.
Thank you. And seconder was Philip. Thank you. Thank you. Then I can fill in my sheets. And all in favor?
Yes.
Looks like that's a go. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll carry on. Now, just to be clear in my understanding, Peter, doesn't the language says that the position comes up once a year, but the chair is allowed to stay on for 2 years? I think that's the resolution language. If that's not in front of you now, we don't need to know right now, but I think it's, so it's an annual consideration, I believe.
I don't have it in front of me through you, Chair, but I can confirm that. But yeah, that sounds correct.
Okay, it won't affect anything right now anyway. Okay, well, let's go on then. Acceptance of the agenda. Everybody okay with that? Can I have a mover on that one? Need a mover, just a hand. Thank you, Bruce. And a seconder. Thank you, Phil. Okay, that's good. So it's received that the March 16th meeting agenda was accepted. So that's that paperwork. And we move along. Business arising from the previous minutes. The safety measures, the soft infrastructure update. I'll kick it off because in the last minutes, I hadn't picked it up until I reread the minutes, that staff had requested that we feed back to them some kind of summary of the emails that were submitted by Anne, Bruce, Jimmy, and Dave. Did put thoughts forth in emails about some suggestions. And then staff came back and I guess that really asked us to maybe summarize it. And I can understand that, so there was no misunderstanding or misinterpretation. So we're in the process of doing that. And we have a template that went to Marvin, and I think, Michael, you had a look at that? Yeah.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Oh, that template, did Marvin pass that? I just gave it to him the other day, Marvin, the template of the request from staff to identify the safety issues and our suggestions. I think that you're going to then pass on to the region.
Yeah, I haven't seen it just yet, but
Okay.
I saw the email back and forth with you
Very
you guys.
good.
So you were gonna do
Marvin
that.
seemed happy with the format we were using, which is just a kind of a simple, the street, the area on the street, what's the problem and what's the recommendation. So we'll forge ahead and fill that in and send it out to the members, and then we'll have that ready for staff as soon as possible. Anyone else to add on that particular item? I mean, that clearly indicated that safety of all sorts is a big item with this committee, and we're not going to let it go. We'll just keep it going. Yes, Bruce McKenzie.
Yes, just a question for clarification, Chair. On that form, are we dealing with just regional roads or any road in Grimsby?
I'll come back at you, Michael. I was thinking it was a document that was to go on to the region, but at the same time, I'd hate to lose any of the thoughts that were for our local roads. I was thinking if we gave you a document with all the concerns, you could then filter out the regional stuff and keep the local stuff for your own use. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, so through you, Chair. Yeah, that makes sense. It can be for both, and then we'll make sure that the stuff that needs to be addressed by the region or any questions on their part will get forwarded on to them. And then with dealing with local roads, we'll look at that and then provide comment back.
That's right. And does that make sense? That I think that works. And that way we don't lose any of the thoughts that have been put out there already. And okay, we'll move on that. So that's where we are on the safety measures that will remain on our agenda as we move along. Any questions or comments? Anne? Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that this is getting good attention from, especially from the staff from the town, and that it's going to be forwarded by them to people at the region who are going to look after it. It's a really good step, and I think it's a really good accomplishment if we can do that from this committee and get things, get the attention drawn to the areas where it's needed. I do have to say, last week a regional truck went by and filled a pothole across the street,
Hey.
which was a big deal. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's good news. All right, we'll move on to the next item then, which is disc golf. And again, as far as I understand it, we're waiting for Sarah to get back to Chris from Prodigy Disc on follow up to some emails he's passed on. Sarah's, I think, out of town or away on vacation, and I think we're on hold until she talks to Chris. Is that everybody else's understanding?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add. We're just waiting to hear, Sarah and Chris to get to the next step.
Again, just a comment after talking with Ann earlier on, it would be a real nice thing to get in place for the spring. It kind of fits with Grimsby's whole rolling out of 100-year celebration. It's kind of an easy fix. It's not a high cost item, and it could be a good news story, but we do need a rollout plan, and I think the town has to put that together to suit their situation. So that's next. Capital cost is minimal, and the cost of playing is cheap. So it's interesting, since the start of this thing, I didn't know what disc golf was and you mentioned it. And since subsequent to that, through COVID and various little news reports, little communities talking about their great disc golf courses. So it's out there, and it seems to be popular. Okay, bike friendly. Is there anything happened since the last meeting on that? I'll take it as a no. No, Ann?
For me, not really. We just have more time to finish our part of the application form. I was just a little discouraged finding out it was until the fall now. So, but yeah, I don't think there's anything changed. Jimmy or Dave, is there anything changed from you? We're just gonna.
Nope, I don't think so.
No, everything's the same. Yeah.
And just to confirm, I think you've let me know that the next opportunity is the fall, isn't it, to get a submission in? Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So to be ready by then, for sure.
Okay. Neighborhood walks update. Nothing new to add. Again, we're waiting to meet up with Sarah to see how we can fit guided walks into whatever upcoming events the town's going to initiate. So we need a plan on what's upcoming, and then what walks we can fit in there with plenty of lead time. On the good news story, I guess I can say this, I hope Bruce McKenzie offered to play a role in leading walks in the town, and that would be a huge help. We just need, and he was thinking of hikes like a hike into the Grimsby wetlands, hike into the forest, a tree hike at Beamer Conservation, and a tree hike at Grimsby Beach. So those are three really neat opportunities. And if we could put those together well with a real plan on how to get feedback from participants, advance notice, advance registration, so there's a whole procedure to it. I think we could maybe sell this whole idea of community walks, both guided and unguided, and it would give us a basis for making a decision based on feedback from participants. So I think that's great, and really happy Bruce threw that one out there. Thank you, Bruce. We just need to work with you on rolling it out to what suits you. So that's with Parks and Rec right now, and because I think they probably are the folks that will put together a plan of whatever events we can actually run in Grimsby this year. So we'll catch Sarah when she's back. Anything else to add to that? Okay, thank you. Vision Zero update. We're looking for feedback or thoughts from Councillor Ritchie on this. is just some background thoughts. When that first rolled out, it sounded like a real opportunity, something for the town to jump on. It's a global initiative. It lines up with strategy items in the town's town strategy and our group strategy. So safety is a big item. It was the number 1 item on today's Business Arising, road safety. So at first blush, it looked like an opportunity that was that fell into our lap. There may be other things to that, and that I've missed, and in terms of the presentation from the region and our response. And I guess I'd look to see if that isn't a good starting point. What's the plan for something that's better? And that's back to you, Alderman.
Sure, through the chair.
Thank
So
you.
as this committee will know, that this council voted down the speeding cameras, which is part of Vision Zero. So, when you look at the speeding cameras, the proposal was they were looking at 12 speeding cameras throughout the region, including red light cameras. And the town of Grimsby was going to receive 2 speeding cameras. So I think that this council, I can't speak for the council. I can only speak for my own concerns and so forth. And there was no collaboration, no talking from the region just to council. They just showed up and they asked council to do this, which also involved changing a legal document that had not been explained to council. And some council members, including myself, sat there and were more curious as to why these initiatives and so forth aren't brought forward to Active Grimsby. It's how it's been explained to me. If you want Vision Zero to work, you need buy-in from the entire community. So just to bring something that can be perceived as a tax grab, and I know from the complaints that I receive that the 2 locations that they were looking at were both on Main Street. One was outside of Blessed Trinity School, and the other one was outside of Park School. And not to say that there's not, but I received so many other speeding complaints from other regional roads in those 2 locations. So when it was looked at those spots, again, so I can't speak for the council. I can say that what I looked at, I'd like to see more collaboration. I'd like to see an education session go. So I know through some of my colleagues that we've discussed possible thoughts and ideas what we can do. So what I'd like to do here is I'd like to actually bring a motion through this committee that we ask council to invite the region for an education session on Vision Zero and a future direction. So we can set a future, so they could talk and we can move forward. So I'd like to see us go in that direction here now, to put that forward. But again, so I think that there was just a horrible job of communicating what the region wants, because they want us to, I don't even know what the agreement actually would state, because you get it on a Thursday, and we never got to see any of the legal documents as to what it means they're changing, and to move forward. So I'd like to invite the region to come and talk to not just council, but then further along. Again, in order for it to work, we need buy-in from the entire community. So like I said, even one of the examples is we have all these signs on Main Street that some people will say a freedom of expression. But when people talk about the signs, reading those signs, it's been documented that that is just as bad as texting and driving. So this council has voted to support those signs. They voted to keep those signs in the past or whatever. So we need a complete education on the entire council. That's where I believe we need to go. So I'd like to put that motion forward, if we may.
Now, just to be clear, yeah, on the surface, that sounds like a good idea. Would they be coming to speak to us or council? Or are we recommending that they come and talk to council?
Yeah, I would recommend that they come and speak to council first. And then through that, again, one of the big proponents that I'll be doing is that we need to have all stakeholders involved, including the community. So we don't even know what the community wants. So I will be asking there for them to also come, and we'll be brainstorming on how we can get the community involved. But definitely this group is a huge part of that.
Thank you. Now, to move on that motion, do we go through that and then discussion, just so I get procedures down correct? Do you need
So you need a seconder? and then it's open for discussion.
Can I have a seconder for that, and then we can get it on the table? Thank you, Phil. Okay. And then Phil. Good. Now, just so I follow your procedures. So now, and comments and feedback on the recommendation that the region come and discuss Vision Zero with council, and then we set something up for other stakeholders in the community. Am I close to your intent?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. If I might just add as well, like that is the intent for them to come, because when I talk to some of the colleagues, they're not against Vision Zero. They're not against making the road safer. Just some people thought that the location of the speed cameras were inaccurate. Where's the data to support it? You know, the only fatality that I know of on our streets is at the corner of Main Street and Nels in the past 4 years. And that had nothing to do with speed. You know, maybe it had something to do with a red light camera. We weren't awarded or to receive any red light cameras whatsoever. There's other initiatives that we can do. And I've been told by some of my colleagues, they fully support other initiatives. They're just, they're very cautious about the speeding cameras.
Good. Okay, well, thank you for that, Alderman Ritchie. Any comments and discussion? Anne?
Yeah, Alderman Ritchie, you mentioned that you had some other thoughts and ideas, and that there were other ways that some of these issues be addressed. What are those things? Other initiatives and other thoughts and ideas besides the Vision Zero, or in addition to Vision Zero?
Well, it's in addition to, through the chair, in addition to Vision Zero. As an example, I'll get beat up for it for sure, but a lot of the signs that we have on the side of the road that make certain comments are distracting. I think that's a very simple solution for us to, or a suggestion for us to move forward with the Vision Zero, that there's no cost, there's nothing, and it automatically makes our street safer right off the hop. Again, stuff like that. I think that, as an example myself, I've never seen reports of speeding on our streets, but the complaints that I receive, I don't think that, like, I don't get a lot of complaints at Park Road School where they're going by, or at Blessed Trinity. Now on Highway 8, I get a lot of complaints. You know, further down, there's a lot of places that I receive a lot more complaints, and I get it there. So I question, I don't know the answer, because we never got into the full discussion. Why were those locations picked? What's their data to support it, and so forth?
Can I suggest that probably some data on speed surveys and traffic surveys, axle size and the speed of cars in different areas, especially along Main, East, and West, and other parts of the town, wherever you're hearing complaints of speeding, might be a good start before actually a meeting to be able to pinpoint the trouble spots.
So I agree, but again, we also want to know, like for myself, I want to know what is involved. So there's an agreement between the town and the region that they have to change. So in order for us to, for myself to make a decision to say, yeah, let's just change the agreement, I need to know what exactly is changing. Without being educated on what the agreement is changing, then I'm blindly making a decision that I'm not educated on. So I don't know if I'm making a right or wrong decision. How are we going to evaluate these tools down the road? How are we, what's the purpose? How do we know how to be able to move these cameras? What are all these, what's the measurements to say whether this is a success or not? So there's many questions that we have, or that I have, that I'd like to ask. And like I said, I think one of the biggest components of Vision Zero is involving all the stakeholders. And this has just been, here's what we're doing, change the rules so we can move forward. And, you know, like I said, we haven't had, I'll tell you, when it first came out about speed cameras, I received multiple emails from residents that didn't want anything to do with them. Now, I need to have the other side of it to say, okay, you justify why we are putting them in. And, you know, you could say it's speeding, all the rest. But again, we've done studies on some of our roads where we've had the most complaints of speeding. And it's been determined that the speed cameras may not be, or control measures may not be the best path forward. There's other things that can be done, such as, especially around Park School, we could, they talk about painting crosswalks, different colors, like a keyboard, a rainbow, all these different things that grab people's attentions. That's very effective. So these are some of the things that to look at. So we have not received the data.
Can I suggest though, the idea of having the region come and have a meeting with town council would be great. And, anybody in town could tune in and listen to the meeting and hear the presentation and the questions from the region and from town. If that's made known to people, in the newspaper and things, would there be like a public information session, or it would just be a town council meeting with the region?
So through the chair, so most education seminars would be closed session. But from that, what we could do is we can actually put in the motion that have region meet with council first, and then ask council to give direction on how to proceed with Vision Zero and have public consultation.
So the meeting itself wouldn't be public.
It may not be, it may be, it may not be,
Yeah.
depending on what the clerks and the region would decide or whoever.
I think if you want the town to, the residents to buy in, you need to give us access to all of the information, so we make.
And not to say that it cannot happen in the future. It's just that I believe, well, it's not what I believe. It's just a lot of times when we're doing anything in regards to educating the counselors, it's just naturally been done in a closed session.
I see. The other thing that I mentioned, sorry, let me finish one thing. The other thing that I mentioned about getting some actual data of speed counts, traffic counts, accident counts in those key areas. I think the town and the region should probably be looking at that before any major decisions are made.
Very good. Phil, I see your hand up there.
Yeah, Councilor Ritchie, I had a question regarding the whole Vision Zero, because my understanding is that other communities have implemented this. So how did the region work with them versus what they were trying to do with the town of Grimsby? Was it similar? Is it different? Can you light me on how all that relationship worked?
So I'm not, so we have the privy, so through the chair, sorry, if that's all right. We can initiate lots of thoughts and ideas here in the town of Grimsby through Vision Zero. We can, so the only thing that my understanding with the agreement with the region is that in order for them to put speed cameras or red light cameras, they need the town's permission. So the issue for us is that if everyone's working together, again, I can't speak for all of council, but the locations that they selected, that's not where we're getting a lot of negative feedback from. And that's where, when we looked at it, there's multiple questions for the town of Grimsby from councilors. And that's where I think that in order to get things back on track, we need to have a sit down with the region to find out, what is it that people are looking at? What do they want to do? Some councilors made comments, we need more public consultation. We need a lot more input all around in order to make a success of this. And also, again, I think that we as a council have almost failed because I don't see any initiatives. Again, I educated myself again the other day on Vision Zero. And like I said, just the simple signs. Wasn't long ago that we were fighting to keep all these signs. Well, that doesn't help Vision Zero at all either. And not to say that a proper wayfinding signage isn't appropriate, but when everybody has whatever signs they want on their front lawn, you could have the heritage, not condos, and that group of people will be very upset that I say that. But these are all the signs that are distracting when people are driving. And if you look at the intersection where we did have a fatality, there's multiple signs there.
Bruce.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Phil, are you completed with your questions? Okay, thanks very much. In general, through you, Chair, in general, I support the motion of Councillor Ritchie, because the most common word he uses is education. And not only is it council that deserves an education as to what the region's plan is. I would like to go along with something that Member Ann Porter was suggesting, is a layout of what the region's plan or goal is with Vision Zero. And as Councillor Ritchie said, it's got many layers and there's many opportunities for all of us to benefit from. As I'm just going to go back for a second, as I understand this Vision Zero presentation to the region, it was to get the buy-in from all the 12 municipalities so that they could rewrite the agreement that the region has with the court system, so that red light cameras and the ticketing could be processed through the court system. Now that's a technical matter. That's beyond this committee's concern, I think. And I also understand that the 2 cameras, and Councillor Ritchie, you might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, that Grimsby might get 2 cameras if the region decided that there was a priority for those 2 locations after considering all of the possible locations in the region, because there might be higher priorities for streets in St. Catharines, well under Niagara Falls. So I'd like to, when I look at Vision Zero, I look at education of the public, and it's not just the drivers, it's the pedestrians and cyclists as well. And one of my big bugs is pedestrians and cyclists wearing dark clothing. Construction workers, the EMS staff, you know, they're all dressed in bright green or orange and have fluorescent striping on their clothes. Pedestrians carry a responsibility for their own safety. And I think when you look at Vision Zero, it talks about this. As I say, there are many layers, whether it's clothing, education about how to cross an intersection. And as I think it was Councillor Ritchie or yourself, Paul, mentioned about better improvements to crosswalks and the coloring and the lighting, the signage. These types of tools do not bring in legal matters like red light cameras and speed cameras. I'm not saying that those might not be important tools, but you got to prove to the community that they're necessary tools before you start to introduce them. But introducing what we've often referred to as soft infrastructure and education, I think is really important. And I'd like to see the region do like what they do with environmental assessments. Present a plan to the public. The public can digest it by going to a website. The councillors, the council can look at that at the same time. And yes, a PIC, Public Information Center, might be a grand way of trying to get buy-in from the community. I would also like to suggest that to the Grimsby staff and through you, Councillor Ritchie, that once if the region was to be so generous as to provide to the town a complete document on what Vision Zero could mean, is that the town put this into play as part of the town's transportation master plan that I understand is going to be taking place in 2023. Because whether I'm riding my bike or walking on a regional road or a town road, it doesn't matter to me. I'm a pedestrian in the town of Grimsby, and I want every possibility reviewed on roads that I might be on. And if all the municipalities did this, whether it be regional roads or town roads, we as pedestrians, drivers and bicyclists, we would all benefit. So I look forward to town council asking the region to bring a proper Vision Zero plan to the town, and so that the public can become aware of what it involves, and also for the town to implement whatever tools they can use in their transportation master plan that's coming up. And I'd just like to finish it off with one little thing. There's been discussion of speed cameras. What I find to be a very good tool is what's called, I believe, a speed indicator light. So when you're driving along, there's this sign on the road and a sign box, electronic, and it says posted speed 50, your speed 73. Wow, did that ever catch my attention? And I adjust my behavior for that. Those, I understand, speed indicator lights cost from $1,500 to $7,000, depending upon the complexity and the situation. But those are assets that the town can own and the region owns. There was one on Hunter Road. They can be moved around at council's decision, public works staff decision, whatever formula council wants to come up with. And I'd like to see those kind of things to be used more on town roads, communicate with the police and say, where are the speeding issues? I know the citizens are telling the councilors where the speeding issues are. And why aren't those kind of things becoming more common in the town? Came down Mountain Street today, and there's one of those speed indicator lights. Well, there's half of one coming down the mountain. It says posted speed limit 50, but they forgot the bottom half. It didn't say what your actual speed is. Always puzzles me with that. So Chair Paul, thank you for providing with the floor. I look forward to where Councillor Ritchie and his recommendation can travel through with staff, but I would like it to be considered, and maybe as a friendly amendment to Councillor Ritchie, that the Vision Zero plan of the region be brought to the town of Grimsby more in line with what an environmental assessment might be brought to the town for information and then input from the community. Because if it's just done at the council level, the community won't know what's in play. The community will simply say, oh, more red light cameras. They won't know about all the other softer educational components that can be involved in Vision Zero. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other input? Jimmy?
And I'm more than happy to have that friendly amendment added.
Thank you, Alderman Ritchie. Jimmy?
Yeah, so I guess I want to just like mildly push back. I don't like endorse this full-throatedly or anything, but so presumably this is coming from the region. It's not like Grimsby would have to foot a bill for a bunch of expensive speed cameras. So I'm like operating on that assumption. Is that like pretty fair, Councilman Ritchie?
Yep.
Yeah. So like it's cost neutral to the town. Sure, public support's an issue. Like, oh, we need buy-in from the community or whatever. But like, if these aren't complaint areas, then the speed cameras are really like going to catch the worst offenders. Like, if these aren't the areas that people are complaining about, then there shouldn't be any public pushback for having cameras set up there in the first place, because then the theory is that nobody is speeding. That I'd also add that, like, because they're going in school zones, like, I don't know, this is kind of like your Councilman Ritchie's jam because of the motion we put forward to add the sidewalk going out to St. John's School, and that, like, school safety is a good virtue signal, even if, like, let's say the speed camera catches literally nothing because these aren't a problem area. Yeah, and then, like, lastly, maybe like, I just don't buy that anything else is going to happen. So why not do something rather than nothing? Like, it seems like the alternative here is just sit on our hands, and we should, make like some frowny faces and rub our hands about like concerny thoughts about road safety and whether or not traffic cameras are the right thing. Like, we're literally doing nothing else. Like, why not let the region throw the cameras up there, and then at least something is happening. And that's all with that legal thing that you said aside. Like, I can't speak to that. I don't know what the details are. So like, that's like my mild pushback on all that.
Thank you. Any other comments? If I may, just to comment on Vision Zero itself, I guess my hope with Vision Zero was not necessarily all the speed traps and cat. I think that's probably not the right place to have started this whole discussion. It's with the education, the community engagement. It's trying to create a whole sort of a culture of safe road safety. And I think that's what Vision Zero wants to do. Unfortunately, when it rolled out, it was just to catch the bad guys and no more than that. So I like where Alderman Ritchie's going, is come to council and then roll out to the community and you need community buy-in. That's fundamental in how Vision Zero works. That's what Hamilton's doing right now. It's got stuff on its web page and it's talking to the community about what it takes, but it hasn't committed until it's gone out and got buy-in. And it's to see, are people honest to goodness concerned about safety, and then you move on. And it talks about through education, enforcement, engineering, evaluation, and engagement. And those are the words that Vision Zero should be built around. So if by coming to council and to Bruce's suggestions with a plan that says it's more than just putting up speed lights, I think that could be an opportunity. The big plus from a town end, I would think, it's a known base to build from, but you want to build the right way. I mean, this is global, it's established, you got world data on what works and what doesn't. It started in Sweden, as I understand it, but it's all over the place. Our federal government has built it into their 2025 road plans. Ontario has it built into its vision on roads. So it's something that allows us to connect with something that's big, but it's got to be accepted as more than just a place to catch some speeders. So I'm in agreement with Bruce and what's been said on sort of, let's go and see if we can get some education and buy-in. So that's my take on it. I didn't know much about much Vision Zero till this whole thing started in Grimsby. I had no understanding of it before. It's been around longer than that, than quite a while, but I didn't know anything about it. So that's my 2 cents. With all that said, can we have I guess we just need to vote to accept the motion from Alderman Ritchie to come to council and to invite to ask the region to bring a plan, a more inclusive plan than just red light cameras. All in favor? Any opposed? I see none opposed. We go ahead with that. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you, Alderman Ritchie. And maybe we can initially I thought all was lost and Vision Zero sounded too good to lose. And but that doesn't sound like the case. It sounds like maybe we can make the good stuff work for Grimsby. And that's great. On with the agenda. There's a new business item. Oh, that's it for business arising. Just a sec, I have to get resolved that the business items were discussed by the committee. I have to get can I have a mover on that? Any hand will do. Thank you, Ann, and a seconder. Thank you, Jimmy. Ruth is all over me if I don't get that paperwork done, so that's good. And we'll go from there. New business has a downtown reimagined, and I don't know who was going to run with that. Is that Jimmy? Thank you. Over to you, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so last meeting I intentionally skipped because there was this downtown reimagined community event that was kind of like open to the general public, and it seemed kind of pretty related to the stuff we discussed at this committee. So I decided to attend that instead and make sure that you know, some of the things that we discuss here were spoken to at that meeting. And it was a really positive meeting. I was like quite impressed overall with the quality of the general public that participated and the views that were expressed. And I think a good takeaway for our committee is that there are lots of like-minded people in the town that also say almost verbatim some of the things we discuss here, like how much people care about good walking and biking infrastructure and road safety and all that. So the meeting kind of pertains to just the downtown core section of Grimsby, and you know what the vision for redeveloping that would be in the future, with some emphasis on like improving the pedestrian experience, like making the downtown really walkable. You know, making sure that cycling infrastructure was good. There was some talk about integrating a community space like a town square or a parklet or something like that. Trying to think if there's anything other than anything else notable from that. I also posted something on our shared Slack channel, like an image of one of the proposals that the region's considering for how they're going to redevelop kind of their road standards. And it was a really impressive visual showing fully separated bike lanes and a lot of trees, space for businesses to put signage and marketing on the sidewalk, as well as, you know, allocating space for outdoor dining and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's really good. Kind of a more high level takeaway is to encourage everybody to check in on the Let's Talk Grimsby page and sign up such that you get the email subscriptions to the various issues that are posted there. Like some of them are directly related to our committee and others are peripheral, but like sign up for everything, because I sometimes hear about this stuff last minute because I haven't subscribed to a particular issue or something like that. But it's a great resource to find out about meetings like these, and I am underutilizing it, I think.
Any questions or comments to Jimmy? Thank you for going, Jimmy. That's and carrying the flag. All right. Yes, Bruce McKenzie.
Just a question for through you, Chair, to Jimmy, on and maybe Councillor Ritchie. I understand that this reimagining Main Street or downtown is along Main Street from Christie Street to the TD Bank. Am I correct in that?
That's approximately right.
Okay. Does it involve Ontario Street?
Yes, I believe it, you know, just extends a little bit into Ontario Street.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody confirm that, or is that that's fine? We'll go with that for now. Alderman Ritchie.
Paul, I see our Michael would like to say something there. He's got his hand up there.
Oh, there he is. Oh, thank you, Michael. Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, through you, Chair. So I can just confirm that the study area for that project is from Christie to Elm. However, the area of influence extends beyond that. So the study will look at how to incorporate what's being recommended, or how to ensure that what's being recommended can also branch out into that surrounding area of influence in the future. So areas like Ontario Street, Elm Street are within that same scope, but the actual design is focusing between Christie and Elm.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Any more comments, discussion? Thank you. Although it's not down on new business, anybody have anything current on the bridge going over Gibson? Just anything new there?
They were down today, working on putting the foundations in this afternoon.
Recording stopped.
Oh, something stopped.
Yeah, I was saying that they were down there this afternoon putting the foundations in for the new bridge. So they seem to have started working on it again.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. No more. Next meeting. It's just just remind you that it says it's Wednesday, April 20th at 6:30 in the Town Hall Council Chambers. So unless that gets changed, that we get to meet face to face for the first time in what, almost 2 years, I guess. That'll be good. If there's no more, then the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Thanks for the input, and we'll keep. Bruce, you're just waving. Thank you all. Hello, John, and how little person.
Baby's invited to the next meeting.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Take care, everybody. See you next month.
Bye. Bye. Thank you all.
Right. Take care.